welcome, one and all, and welcome back to Off the Cuff, the podcast where two best friends talk everything esports and sports related. Sports first, esports later. And we talk about things for the past week, typically what we do around here when we don't take 3-week breaks. But we're back for the third week in a row. My name is JT. Joining me as per usual is my lovely co-host, Hylander. Hylander, how's it going, buddy?
Wait a minute. Have we done this 3 weeks? It hasn't been 3 weeks.
This is
since our 3 weeks.
Yeah. This is the third episode since our 3-week hiatus.
I'm telling you, time goes by way faster than you think.
It does.
I'm telling you, I swore this was only like the second week since that.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, but
here we are.
Here we are. And speaking of here we are, here you are as well. And if you are new to this podcast, then I recommend you just chill, take a, go back in your seat a little bit, listen.
Oh.
Or if you're driving, then don't relax. Just continue to listen. Give us a shot, hear us out, take our, listen for free. If you've been here before and you came back for more and you haven't followed yet. That was pretty good rhyme, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you haven't followed yet, why don't you do that? If you liked us so much you came back. And if you hated us so much you came back anyway, follow us again so you know when we're going live. That's everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, audio sites. You know where you are right now. Go down below, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, do whatever you got to do to get us in your feed because we're live every single night over here on twitch.tv/offthecuffpod at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the episodes are live 5 a.m. Thursdays Eastern Standard Time. Highlander.
Did you say we're live every night?
No, I don't think I did.
I'm pretty sure you just said we're live every night at 7:30.
We're live Tuesday nights. Not every night. That would be.
I mean, look.
That'd be nuts.
There would have to be a lot of sports that we cover to be doing.
We would need to do one episode, like one sport per day, pretty much.
Yeah, and we'd have to follow, I think, more like international sports as well.
Oh, yeah,
because there's not enough of our sports that to cover that many days.
No. Did I ask you how you're doing? How you doing, Highlander?
You did. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Excellent. I am doing fantastic. Apologize for the little delay on Twitch. Running a little bit late here today, but we're here and the episode is live. And you listen in on Thursdays, you don't even care because it's edited, so you didn't even have to wait. But anyway, before we get started with our actual news, we have a fun game we like to play around here, and that's Highlander's Quick Quiz. And of course, last week Highlander got his question correctly. It was a 100-point question in the NFL, though, so kind of easy. So we'll see what happens today as he steps back up to the plate and takes another shot.
Are you predicting it's an MLB question now with that one?
We haven't had an MLB question in a while.
If this is a baseball question, I'm calling it rigged.
Maybe. I'm not sure. Let's spin the wheel and find out. So last week, Highlander got the question right. He's at a -100 aggregate score. What is it? NRL for 400.
Oh, no.
I didn't randomize them this time. They were all just in order, but it's still random, so it's fine. So last week, Highlander took his tally to a -100, and now he's got a chance to bump it up to a positive 300. NRL 400, good luck. What team did Peter Sterling play for?
Why does that name actually sound familiar? I feel like I've actually heard this man's name. Out of curiosity, this isn't like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I can't phone a friend, can I?
No. This is Highlander's Quick Quiz, not Highlander and Friends.
I didn't know if there was like some kind of like emergency button there I could call a friend and
maybe for season 2 of Highlander's Quick Quiz, maybe we'll implement that. But for season 1, for this board in particular, we're sticking with just you and your cranium.
Peter Sterling. I'm gonna go and just throw a crazy one here and say the Melbourne Storm.
Melbourne Storm. All right.
I'm just going with something crazy here.
I did run these NRL questions by Regal, and so these questions should be accurately, points-wise, they should be pretty on point. So 400-point question, Melbourne Storm. What did he play for? He played for Parramatta.
Oh,
Parramatta
okay.
Eels.
So it
So
was one of those. I'm not gonna lie. In my head, I imagined just it was gonna be the Storm because Regal being a Storm fan, I was like, he's obviously gonna put a player in that.
yes. Well, unfortunately, Highlander misses on that question. Hard question, 400-point question. So understandable that he missed on that one. I guess we'll have to see if Regal thinks it's understandable when he comes on a little bit later. But that brings Highlander's record to 4-3, and he has hit for 500 points, and he has missed for 9. Nope, 1,000 points actually. He's missed for 1,000 points now.
All right, that makes a lot more sense. Why I recognize that name?
Why do you recognize the name?
Because Regal just said he's an NRL commentator.
Oh,
So
Peter
that's
Sterling.
why.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Interesting.
That's why I've heard that name before.
Yes, of course. Of course. Well, with Highlander's quick quiz out of the way, thank you all so much for listening to that and watching. Thank you, Highlander, for getting the question wrong. Take us away. Do you have any NFL news for us today? I know we skipped it last week because there was just absolutely nothing going on with the NFL. Is there anything going on now?
I mean, it's really just the same with the NFL, except
stuff.
for just the fact that DeAndre Hopkins released from the Cardinals.
True.
No news on anything else. Apparently, there's
Mhm.
just it's been like a week, I want to say, since that's happened, and there's basically no news on anything. I
Okay.
thought with him being released, he would have been like signed immediately somewhere,
Right.
but yeah, nothing yet. I mean, maybe by next week we might find a home for DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, wherever he goes, it should be decent. I mean, when he
Right.
left Arizona, he said that he wanted a quarterback who actually wants to win.
Strong
So
words.
that tells you how much the receivers liked Kyler Murray.
Yes. Yes.
And this comes off of the year as well, where Kyler Murray was, down talked by coaches by wanting to play video games more than study the playbook.
Well, he is in FaZe Clan.
Yes,
So
but it's still one of those things where when you have a starting quarterback, you kind of want the receivers to love your quarterback. To be like, yeah, I want to catch footballs and win games with them. Not when they're like, I want to go ahead and have a winning quarterback that actually cares about the game.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's a couple of teams that he wants to go to. Like he said, I know he said he would love to catch balls from Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, a couple of those kind of like teams. So I'm like, all right. I mean, those are all top teams that could use. Well, I mean, I guess the Eagles don't really need, because I mean, if the Eagles signed him, he would just be like a third or fourth quarterback or receiver, which is wild to me.
Right.
The fact that DeAndre Hopkins would be a third or fourth string receiver on a team, that's just mind blowing. That's why, though, the one team I would like to see him not go to is the Chiefs.
They don't need any help.
Yeah, I feel like the Chiefs are good where they're at.
Yes.
A team that I'd actually really like to see him go to is honestly the Bills. You put Diggs on one side, Hopkins on the other, you have yourself a field day.
True. That wouldn't be terrible.
Finally, it would put a lot less pressure on
Diggs and Allen.
And Allen.
And Allen.
It would make the Bills a lot more dangerous, in my opinion, on offense.
For sure. I would like that.
I kind of figured you would.
Yeah, but if he can hit his stride,
D-Hop comes in. Honestly, that's if D-Hop comes in as like what he used to do on the Texans back in the day when him and Deshaun were together on the Texans. You know what? I just thought of that. There could be a reunion between Deshaun Watson and D. Hopkins.
Right.
The Browns could always somehow do something crazy, and I mean, last time those two were together before the Texans, the dumbest trade of their lives, was when Houston actually made the playoffs and were dominating the Chiefs in a playoff game, and then they pulled an Atlanta Falcons and choked it.
Yes.
But other than that, I mean, those two do have good chemistry together. I could see the Browns trying to bring in D Hop, and then they have Amari Cooper, D Hop, and I think they got another receiver this offseason, didn't they?
Um,
Swore they did.
maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, the Browns would need it too. So I mean, yeah. I mean, a shocking place, but I don't think he would go though. I'd like to see Saints as well.
Mm.
I mean, right now all the Saints, in my opinion, even though Michael Thomas is supposedly going to play this season, I give it 3 games before that man's back on the sideline and back at home crying again. But to me, all the Saints have as their star receiver right now is the young kid.
Yeah.
You know, to me, if they bring in a veteran like D Hop who wants to play football, I think very quickly you'd find that D Hop would get the contract that Michael Thomas is kind of stealing right now, in my opinion.
I think an interesting team for him as well would be the Steelers. So I mean, you pair D Hop with Pickens. Takes a little pressure off of Pickens.
Young and Pickett. Pickett has another veteran.
He's shown that he can, and D Hop can teach Pickens and Pickett, honestly, how to win, how to be better. And if D Hop has that sort of not coaching, but mentorship quality, I'm not sure if he does. I'm not sure what kind of leader he was like on his other teams. But I mean, a little bit of wisdom from anybody who's been in the league for a long time can't hurt. So
exactly. Yeah,
I think that could be dangerous because the Steelers were probably, they were kind of out of nowhere this year. With
I mean, yeah, they were
Pickett coming in
game away.
Yeah, and Pickens just having a crazy rookie year. So yeah, you put an extra guy on that team with DeAndre Hopkins's pedigree and statistical ability, physical ability. They could be dangerous.
And I'm seeing a comment there about the Saints of the salary cap. The thing about D Hop is I don't think he's expecting like the big multi-year contract.
True.
This season.
True.
There's a good shot he's gonna sign a 1-year small deal this season to a team. Because right now it's this late in the season. I mean, what are we 2-3 months away from like actual training camp?
Right. Yeah. For sure.
I could see him coming in as like because I mean, let's be honest. With the Cardinals, everyone was expecting the Cardinals and him to be Super Bowl contenders, and instead they never made the playoffs.
Nope.
So I mean, as of right now, D Hop would be in a prove yourself deal kind of thing. Which I mean, a lot of receivers have done it. I mean, if you remember, when the Eagles signed Alshon Jeffrey a few years back, when we actually won the Super Bowl, he signed a 1-year deal when he first joined as a prove yourself.
Right.
And won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I mean, I see that being a thing with D Hop because he's a veteran. He knows that, as of right now, if he wants to play on a team that's actually going to be in the playoffs or be a competing team, he knows he might have to take that smaller deal right now that will lead into the bigger one.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, that's basically all the NFL news I really have right now because I mean, again, it's quiet currently. It's in that quiet part until training camp begins and all that fun stuff of people getting injured in the off season where it's like, oh well, there goes the dream of this season.
Yeah, people under approving and getting cut who you thought were good were going to be good,
or your team just dropping a player because they're just like, they're not needed, and then that player goes on to another team and becomes a star.
True.
Seen that before.
Yes, we have.
I think it's time to hop in and shoot some threes with some basketball news.
This is your new thing, isn't it?
You know what? It is. It honestly is, and I'm here for it.
Okay, sure. Why not?
Thank you.
Well, yeah, NBA. So last week we had commented and told you all about the Nuggets' dominance over the Lakers and the Heat's dominance over Boston. And we said, well, surely we're going to see you next week with, Nuggets Heat in the finals. And yes, that's what we have, but it almost wasn't. So Boston ended up coming back with a vengeance, almost doing what no team has ever done, and coming back from a 3-0 deficit against Miami. So we have, obviously, after the 3 games here last week, we have Game 4, narrow victory for Boston. Game 5, 3-point victory. No, not 3-point, 13-point victory for Boston. And then Game 6, 1-point victory for Boston. And then Miami said, you know what? We're done with this. We're blowing you out. We're going to the NBA Finals.
Can I just point out as well, that Game 7 was in Boston.
It was.
And it was Boston's worst performance.
Yes.
Like that's something that's gotta hurt in a way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I actually had something for this that I forgot to bring up. I had it here. I thought I had it here. Maybe I didn't.
Professional JT is doing.
It was a meme of a little girl looking away from a fire. You might know that meme. It's pretty iconic. And the burning building was Boston teams in TD Garden in Game 7, and then the little girl was Florida teams in TD Garden in Game 7. Just looking away from an absolute train wreck, barn fire that was Boston games. And so, obviously, going back to the Boston Bruins, having a terrible performance in Game 7 in TD Garden. And now, Boston Celtics having a similarly bad performance. So, I mean, which if we had seen a healthy Jason Tatum for the entire game, maybe things would have changed. But we didn't. He tweaked his ankle or his knee or something, and he was kind of hobbling throughout the entire game. And Jaylen Brown did not come and help. He was nowhere to be found in Game 7, and obviously the Heat win 103-84. Just an absolute burial of the Boston Celtics' hopes and dreams. But now, I mean, Nuggets versus a depleted Heat team, pretty much. The Nuggets have had all the time in the world to rest and recuperate and get their minds right. I think they're going to be too much. I just think they're going to be way too much for the Heat. And I said 4-2 last week. I'm probably thinking like a 4-1 now, and that's kind of being generous.
That's kind of crazy to say. I think it's a straight 4-0.
It could be. It really could be.
The Heat have done a really good job shocking everyone.
Yes.
And they've had like this nice little Cinderella story, but I've seen someone on Twitter say, you might as well just bet your house on the Nuggets because the Nuggets are just they're too strong, too powerful.
Yeah.
The Heat showed too much weakness in that Boston series.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of people even saying that this is looking like the Nuggets are just going to run away with it pretty easily.
I agree. I think I reported on a possible Kyrie trade last week to the Lakers, which is possible. There's also a whole bunch of other trade rumors going around for Kyrie, so who knows where he's going to end up. I don't think he's going to end up in Dallas again. They did not have a good time when he went there, and I think there was just a lot of bad blood in that locker room. So more news on him and obviously all of the NBA craziness off season. But first we got to get through the finals, which begin on June 1st, in 2 days from now. So As this episode airs, that'll be game 1 of the NBA Finals. So
Friday.
Thursday.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh yeah, today's Tuesday. Yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
Yes.
Why did I think today was Wednesday?
Well, apparently we do the podcast every day, so time is a anomaly. Yeah, that's all the NBA news that I really have. Just we're getting to the end here, so hopefully there's something to talk about with the Nuggets and the Heat. Maybe the Heat can pull it off. Who knows? Find that out next week in the NBA segment. So. Hylander, I think it's time for a cross crease right into NHL.
Oh, okay. See what you did there. Yeah, you got me with my own.
Gotcha.
Okay, a little cross crease action. Cross crease,
yeah. But not against the Bruins because they'll let it in.
That's just soon for
It's way too soon.
Too soon for Bruins fans.
Too soon for me, and I said it.
Well, yeah. So, without further ado here, Dallas had a bit of a fight since we last talked.
Yes.
When we first talked, it was both teams were 3-0, 3-0 at the time. Obviously, Florida Panthers completed the 4-0 with what I call the craziest ending I think I could have ever seen.
Yeah.
With 3 minutes left, the Carolina Hurricanes score the tying goal in the third period. At this point, a lot of Florida fans are like, whoa, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I think it was like 52 seconds. Carolina trips a Panther player to let them have a power play with under a minute left. With I believe it was 4.2 seconds left, Chuck takes a shot and scores to put the Panthers in the lead, which ends up being the win.
Wow.
Craziest turn of events I've ever seen in my life. But right now, Chuck, he's winning the Conn Smythe.
Hey, one might call that's a scripted win.
Yeah, well, yeah, the thing with hockey is I feel like hockey would be the hardest sport to script.
True.
Because that puck does some weird movements that I don't think any human being can control.
That's very true.
Like I said, I've watched a puck hit someone in the butt and bounce left perfectly right into the net. And I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you they could do that shot about 100 times. It would never do the same thing.
Right. Needs to become a designed play.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then we had, Vegas was up 3-0. Dallas came back to win the next 2 games, taking it to a game 6 where it went back to Dallas. And in front of their home crowd, they decided to have the most embarrassing game of their lives, losing 6-0. If I was a Dallas fan, I would be so disappointed that my team was fighting back. Decided to come back home and then get eliminated at home in such a just ugly fashion. There was no heart and there was no fight in that Dallas team in game 6. So now we get Vegas versus the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. There will be a new Stanley Cup champion this year. Both these teams have never won the cup.
Love to see that. Vegas,
a team who was only created a few years ago. Florida, who's been around for a while. They've been to the finals before. I think the last time they were in the Stanley Cup Finals was 1995, I believe, in which they lost.
Right.
But now against Vegas, honestly, Vegas has a good, strong team. But I think with the heart and the fight that this Florida Panthers team has shown, I think they're going to do the opposite of what's going to happen in the Miami situation in NBA. I think the Florida Panthers beat the Golden Knights. I think we see the Florida Panthers finally win their first championship. Just because looking at the way they've gone, they've only gotten better since beating Boston.
Not wrong.
I mean, 4-3 to a 4-1 to a 4-0. Bobrovsky's getting better and better. I mean, Bobrovsky made a save where it was on the goal line and his toe just hits the puck away.
Mm-hmm.
The Bobrovsky's starting to feel way too good. I think at this point, a lot of people are going for Florida just because it's the. I mean, I just want to point out 48 hours before the playoffs, the Panthers didn't even know if they were in.
Right.
They literally make it on the last day of the regular season, and they're in the Stanley Cup final. This is why I love hockey, though, because expect the unexpected is what NHL is known for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what I think, as of right now, is Florida Panthers in 6.
Mm.
That's my prediction on that whole situation. I think Vegas wins 2 at home because their crowd is just a little too wild. In fact, I could see Vegas starting the series off 2-0.
Oh.
And like making a lot of people think, oh, Vegas is unstoppable, and then it goes back to Florida, in which the Panthers' home crowd just gets them right back into it.
Right.
And then I think once the Florida Panthers get that rhythm and feel out how to beat Vegas, I think that's when they win. It'll be the same thing that they did with Boston, where once their forwards and stuff learn how to score against a certain team, they strike, and they don't miss. Especially
Right.
to Chuck. To Chuck, as of right now, I want to say he's close to like 20 goals in the playoffs.
Oh my.
I mean, he's scored multiple, like every single overtime game that the Panthers have had this season or in the playoffs has the game winner coming from Tkachuk so far.
Wow.
So he's been a really big star for them. Carolina tried to have a dirty play and take him out of the game at one point, but that didn't work for him. Brent Burns take a crotch shot with a stick.
Oh.
At one point in that series, which is why, honestly, I'm happy that the Panthers 4-0'd Carolina after that.
Right.
There's a reason why I never liked Brent Burns, even when he played for the San Jose Sharks. He's always been a dirty type player. But yeah, that'll be exciting. I do know that there's some coaching changes here, as Carberry has been hired as the Capitals coach.
Okay.
And the Predators have fired their head coach of the Four Seasons. So that's the Predators will be looking for a new coach. I think this is the first year in a long time that the Predators haven't made the playoffs.
Huh.
So I feel like I always see Nashville always in the playoffs. So it's kind of weird seeing Nashville not.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, like I said, we get to have a new champion. Good luck to both teams.
I
My only hope is that
Golden Knights in 7.
Ooh. See, the reason why I don't think Vegas does it is because Vegas doesn't have a legit goalie.
Yeah.
Their goalies are kind of like, at least like, if I don't even know the name of the goalie of Vegas. I know they have Jonathan Quick, the LA Kings like Stanley Cup champion goalie.
Yep.
On the bench, but he's been not so good recently. And that's the reason why I have Florida, just because I feel Bobrovsky is just feeling himself. And him being the star goalie that he has been in his career, I think Bobrovsky finally gets the cup that he deserves. Yeah, that's all the NHL news, though. Time to throw a splitter right into the baseball.
Splitter?
Yeah.
Man, that's dirty.
Took you by surprise there. Yeah,
that's
I went
a dirty pitch.
Yeah, well, had to surprise you.
Yeah, that you did. Yes. So baseball. Haven't really paid much attention to baseball this week, unfortunately. But there's not too much to talk about. I mean, most of the standings are the same, so the teams have just been kind of cruising. I mean, the AL is completely the same. No change in any of the things there. I'll actually bring it up here. I've got a little side-by-side comparison. Oh, you can't see that. That's great. I had a little side-by-side comparison. I guess I'll have to. I guess I'll have to go full screen for this one. There we go. I thought I just had my full screen up, but I don't. Anyway, so in the AL, we have
our teams suck.
Well, but they don't because they're over 500.
But look at the wild card. We've dropped
a little bit. But so last week at this time, I mean, yeah, everything is the same. Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Yankees, Boston, Toronto. In the Central, Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland, White Sox, Kansas City. In the West, Texas, Houston, Angels, Seattle, Oakland. That is all the exact same. So that means that the conference is the exact same. In the NL East, well, in the NL, things have changed. I don't think the East has changed. Let me see here. Oh, actually, Miami overtook the Mets by a game, so they're flip-flopping back and forth with Philly and Washington down below.
South Florida's on the rise for some reason. I don't know what's in the water. What's in the water in South Florida these days?
Someone's got to investigate. I have no idea, but
like Heat, Panthers, now Marlins. Like, what's going on here?
Atlanta is still top in that division, of course. 57 run differential for them. They are still putting on an offensive clinic.
Love that.
Yeah, in the NL Central, we do have a bit of a mix-up here. Last week, we had Cincinnati down in the last spot, and today they are third in the NL Central.
How did that happen?
They went on a crazy win streak, and by crazy, I mean 4 games. Well, not 4 games. They have a 3-game win streak. They went 4-1 this past week. So, good for them to take third place, but that division is still very, very tight. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh still in the top 2 spots, with the Cubs and St. Louis down below. St. Louis back down in last place. Just when they were having that really good week last week, and people were thinking, can they turn it around? It still is to be determined. So, NL West, last week, we had Dodgers, Arizona, San Francisco, San Diego, Colorado. This week, it's the same. Nothing going on there. So let's take a look at the NL Conference, or the league, the National League. See what Cincinnati did. So they're above San Diego now, above Colorado.
A little bit down there though, but they did move up a bit.
They did, yeah. Chicago Cubs and St. Louis just stayed down there. I'm not sure where they were last week. Let's take a look. Hopefully this continues to be the same day. It is. Okay, good. Let's see. Yeah, Cincinnati was second to last, and now they are 6th to last. So big improvement for them. They're approaching
them.
Yeah, they're approaching that wild card, and if they continue this and have a good month of June, then they're really in there for a fighting chance at that wild card, probably.
I gotta say, the team that I'm not slightly, but the team that I'm suddenly a little sad about is Pittsburgh. They had a good start.
Great
start.
Look
like they're dropping.
Yeah, they're now below 500, right in the middle of the pack there. Yeah, they got figured out, I guess, because they were having their way with teams. Yeah, very quickly. And I mean, it's kind of like a flip-flop between Pittsburgh and LA. I mean, LA was in the middle of the pack in the beginning of the season, and now they're number 1. Right.
Back to their old ways.
Yep, right neck and neck with Atlanta. Arizona's still up here, still fighting, battling. 8 games above 500.
Arizona's my biggest surprise this season.
They are the biggest surprise team. They've been having some good talent the past couple of years, but they haven't really been able to put the pieces together. And this year seems like they're starting to put those pieces together. So see how they go in the upcoming weeks and months to come. So
actually, my biggest surprise is Baltimore, I gotta say.
Well, yeah, true. That's very true.
I don't know why, but in my head, I had Baltimore last in the East in the AL.
Mm-hmm.
and somehow they're second in the AL East. They're not that far off of Tampa.
Right.
I mean, they're winning games against the Yankees. They're they're pulling off wins that I wasn't expecting them to this season.
Right.
At this point, if they continue this on the rest of the season, Baltimore could be that surprise team that actually
make a deep
makes
run.
it to the World Series even.
Right. They maybe. I mean, they've got a stacked American League. For once, I mean, yeah, the American League seems to be the top dog in baseball again. I'm looking forward to the All-Star game actually, because if the American League continues to just slug and play the way the American League is playing, then it shouldn't even be a contest between the American League and the National League. National League have been on quite a bit of a up and come up. Because I mean, the team in fourth place in the NL, Milwaukee, is 28 and 25. In the American League, 28 and 26 is Toronto, and they're sitting 10th.
But at the same time, there's a lot of star batters and stuff like that on the NL side.
There are. Oh, for sure. There are. But I think there's a lot more positional, because I mean, you got to think with the new rules. I mean, the shift is no longer a thing, so you're getting some more hits. The pitch clock, I mean, honestly, hasn't really changed. I mean, it's changed the game a lot, but I don't think the good pitchers have adapted and the bad pitchers haven't. But I don't really think. I mean, maybe Baltimore is just better with this pitch clock. Who knows? Or maybe they're just better with because they've been a speedy team for a while. But it didn't really matter when the pitcher could just hold you there on first for forever. And now we're seeing record high numbers for steals because of the new rules. So maybe Baltimore just likes this quick pace offense, bunch of young guys. Yeah, so good stuff. And that's all I really have for the roundup of the Major League Baseball. With the Major League Baseball out of the way, let's try to get through this NRL segment. Hylander?
I was hoping for a better one there, but we'll take the simple try.
That's the first one that came to my mind, so I'm sorry. But I'm not.
We'll take the try as the pun into it.
I mean, it's the most, it's the most. I don't know. It's the most. It's the. I can't speak. It's the most noticeable and thing. Anyway, we have Regal again today. Hello, Regal. How are you doing? Love to see you.
Let's put him on the spot immediately.
Oh,
Regal.
Hold on. After that terrible attempt, I don't know if I want to be here.
Well, no, Regal. That's what I'm saying.
You're here.
Regal, you need to redeem this. You need to redeem this, Regal. What would your segue be?
What was your segue?
On the spot. See?
Nah, I hate you guys.
I also Regal's gone.
Too early in the morning.
Goodbye. Yeah, I was gonna say let's scrum on through to the NRL.
That would have been a good one. Actually,
I was gonna say that, but I thought it would be too because I mean in the NRL you don't really have scrums like true scrums. Really have scrums no. So no. I didn't think it was gonna be a thing.
There's too many
scrums out for years.
Yeah,
there's too many scrums. Problem at times.
There's too many.
And
but it's just you just get the ball immediately.
Pointless.
There's no physicality.
One is too.
Actually, in all fairness, out of the time that I've watched the NRL, there have been two times that the opposite team actually gets the ball on a scrum.
Oh,
I was going to say the same thing. Like there's, it's pretty rare, but it does happen.
Okay,
I've only seen it a handful of times myself.
I think Penrith was one of the teams that actually did that, where they got the ball against the other team doing a scrum.
Huh?
And it was like, wow.
I know Melbourne was one just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and it was like, why don't more teams try to do this? What's going on here?
All right. Well, with that terrible segue out of the way, Regal, how's it going, buddy? Haven't seen you in a long time. You've been working like crazy, like a madman the last couple of weeks. How did you enjoy, the NRL games that you went to? You went to quite a bit during Magic Round, right? Magic Round.
I was going to, and
Oh.
then I was sick for the entire time.
Oh.
So we went on the first day to the first 2 games. We left early on the first 2 games because I was feeling absolutely horrible, and then we didn't go the other 2 days because of that.
Well.
So I watched them all from my bed.
That's why when you asked that question, I started laughing. I was like, "Well, there's a story to all this."
All right. Well, I do recall hearing that you were sick. So I
was sick. I was very sick.
It's been so long ago that
I was very, very sick, and then I was working every day, and now I'm finally here.
Shockingly, the turf did hold up, believe it or not.
I think it did a lot better than everybody was expecting, including myself. It was still bad though. Like by the end of the week, it was pretty rough.
Okay,
but not as bad as what I was
the following
expecting.
week as well. Yeah, same. Like
I was expecting that to be like holes everywhere, it to just be like atrocious, and it was actually not bad.
I mean, even watching the first game, like I think it was the Bulldogs. I don't remember who they were versing, but like you could see, like at the start, you could see them like slipping and sliding and digging holes in the ground, and we're like, this turf is not going to hold up till the end of Sunday.
Gotcha.
But they did all right. They had people out there at like intervals going out and like stamping the ground and like fixing it up and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
that's all they can really do, I guess.
Not to dwell too much on the past, because Highlander and I did a nice little recap of those 3 weeks that we were gone. Highlander did a nice job last week recapping the Origin round. So now we are
no,
not Origin round, but
the Origin starts this Wednesday.
The Origin games tonight. Okay.
No, true. That's right. Actually, yeah. You know what? Good point.
10 hours from now.
It'll be in the morning for us at 6 a.m. For those on the East Coast of the U.S.
Yes. So, Regal, what are you looking forward to with the Origin games kicking off tonight?
I'm looking forward to New South Wales winning.
Oh.
You see, I had them winning until these injuries all popped up.
So there was a bit of a scare. The Blues lost Latrell, which losing a center is not too bad, but it is Latrell, right?
Latrell,
he's arguably the most explosive player on that team. Anyway, there was scares for Nathan Cleary because he had like a tooth infection or something, but apparently he's good to play now. And Payne Haas had a calf injury or something, but he's expected to play. I don't think he's necessarily cleared. I don't think it was that serious of an injury. So realistically, the only person we've lost is Latrell. But again, that's a pretty big loss. So I kind of agree with you. Before, I think the Blues were pretty decently favorites. Like I don't think very many people would like counter that argument. Now I think it's a lot more even. I think it's a genuine like 50-50 game.
I honestly, before some of these like things came out with some of these like scares, I had New South Wales just absolutely pounding Queensland.
Yep.
Because just looking at the team list, I'm like, I mean, how do you really even try to say that this isn't going to be an easy 3-0 for the Blues? And then all of a sudden, all these scares started happening. I'm like, well, this is starting to even the odds a little bit.
But and even with that said, though, like I think originally the matchup was going to be Latrell and Josh Adokar on the one side, and then Turbo and To'o on the other side.
Oh, that would have been a nasty side, though.
It would have been insane, and then
like Latrell to Adokar would have been beautiful.
Oh well, I mean, even Turbo to Adokar. If Turbo plays like he did 2 weeks ago in that game before his bye round, where he scored 3 tries, he will be the best player on that team, and Queensland won't stand a chance. But he's only done that once this season. So if he keeps up that form, great. If he doesn't, it's going to be a lot of how successful the Blues are is going to be how Turbo plays. With that said, the other side, Crichton and To'o, they're both obviously they're on the same side of Penrith, so they've got that sort of bond, and they're going up against Val Holmes and Selwyn Cobo. I think that like Turbo and Adokar against Hammer and Tuolagi, Turbo and Adokar win that 9 times out of 10, in my opinion.
And then the other side,
much better side.
Other side, I give Cabo and Valentine Holmes the.
Well, That's my thing, right?
One
The
minute.
way that I see it is that in terms of the winger comparison, I think To'o is a much better winger than Cobo. He just
Oh, yeah, it's just
always has been much better
Cabo's
winger
just
experience.
bigger and can just do.
He's taller, but To'o's
Mm.
built like a.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what he's built like, but he's big.
Mm.
And then so realistically, like I think To'o wins that. But then when it comes to the centers, Val Holmes against Crichton, Val Holmes is arguably one of the best centers in the game, possibly the best center in the game.
I want to get your opinion on this. I've seen some people talk about this on Twitter and stuff, saying they don't know how Stephen Crichton got the replacement for Latrell when they feel like there's other better centers that should have gotten it over Crichton.
Well, given, yeah, I don't know. I know that Turbo's original job was going to be. Oh, he wasn't even on the team originally. I think it was meant to be Latrell and Campbell Graham, which would have been amazing. And then Campbell Graham suffered his injury, so Turbo took his spot, and now Latrell was out. So I guess Crichton. I think Crichton took the job because he was 18th man. So he automatically filled that spot. Personally, if I was Brad Fiddler, I would be putting Matt Burton at center over Crichton. But for my fantasy team, I'm glad he didn't do that. Although both people are on my fantasy team, I would much rather have Burton stay safe than Crichton.
Yeah, a lot of people have said though that Crichton just hasn't lived up to greatness this season.
I think the two reasons that I would say is because A, he was 18th man already, so it kind of makes sense. And B, because it's on To'o's side and they've got that chemistry.
They like putting that Panther chemistry on the Blues, I noticed.
Yep. There has been some rumors that Nico Hines is going to end up playing some hooker tonight, which would explain why he's 17 and not 6. A lot of people
that would be so. That would mean if Coruscant starts flopping, they bring in Hines, and that's a scary thought.
Yeah, if they have Hines and Cleary in the field, let alone Hines, Cleary, and Luai.
Yeah. You know what? In fact, I'm surprised they didn't just put Hines on the field for something. Like I would, even though like Hines isn't that big of a man, I kind of would have put him in the center position in a way to replace Latrell.
I thought they might consider doing something like that, just given how good of a season he's had this year and how good he was last year as well. Like he's definitely earned an Origin spot. Being 17 is kind of an insult. Even actually having Cameron Murray on the interchange is an insult too.
I was going to point out, Nico Hines won the Dally M last year.
Did, and he's in a position to win it again this year too.
That's what I mean. And he's on the bench for the Blues.
Yeah.
Like,
which again, for my fantasy team, thank you, Brad.
The thought though that Luai is even over Hines blows my mind. Because I mean, if I'm running the Blues, I'm having Cleary and Hines. To me, that'd be the most terrifying half you could have.
I 100% agree with that as a thought, but I think as a practice, putting two players that haven't played with each other like that, like it's a bit different with Cherry Evans and Munster because they've played dozens of Origin campaigns together now. Like not necessarily starting half.
I forgot about Munster and Cherry Evans.
Yeah, that's a deadly combination on that side too, as well as Ben Hunt in the middle. Like they do have a very good team this year, and they've got players outside of Selwyn Cobra. Every single player on that team has been performing this year. Like Patrick Carrigan, arguably the best year of his career so far.
Reece
Tom
Walsh.
Gilbert moving. Reece Walsh is obvious, yeah.
I mean, I think I can't wait to see how he does with this being his first Origin and finally getting selected for it. The way he plays hard as it is with the Broncos, knowing that Origin, you pick up the pace a little bit more. Yeah. I can't wait to see what he's going to do in Origin.
I mean, I hope he doesn't choke on the main stage.
That would. Nothing would be more embarrassing.
Such a shame, wouldn't
Nothing
it?
would be more embarrassing if he gets his first moment to do it, and he just absolutely flopped.
Yeah, I am glad that we've got Tedesco back there. Like Walsh is great, but it being a first Origin campaign, I can't help but feel a little scared for him.
Who would replace him if he flopped? Like, say, like he did terrible. Who would come in for him as like number 2?
Kalen Bonga.
Oh,
would be
see,
not obviously in this game, but next game.
That's what I mean. Like, And then that problem is with Origin being so rough. You might as well be the Knights might as well say to their fans, "Well, Ponga won't be back this season."
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the ladder and the matches that were played, real quick, final score of the Origin games, Regal. Final score.
Prediction?
Yeah, who takes it? How many games?
Like, do you mean the game tonight, or do you mean over the series?
Like, yeah, the series, the total series, the total series. Like who wins? 3-0, 2-1. Who wins?
It's pretty rare. I think that if anything was rigged in the NRL, it's Origin. I'll say the Blues this year, and I'm going to say 2-1 because it is very, very rare.
Mm-hmm.
It's only happened a couple times in the last like 10, 15 years that a team 2-0s before the series, the game 3.
Yeah.
And I think that and I say it's kind of hard to say oh, if anything's rigged. It's just because it happens so consistently where one team one team wins each game before the decider.
There was some very sus things in last year a couple times.
Yeah, it's just such a
wasn't
game
there,
3 is just such a huge money grab if it's actually worth something. If it's not worth anything, who
there
cares?
True.
A moment last year in game 2, because I think it was game 2 that the Maroons won, or was it the Blues? It was one of those. One of them. I just remember someone would do a offload and just threw it to nobody, and a Blues player just picked it up, or whatever player it was picked it up and scored a try, which gave them the win. And it was just a weird
Blues won 44-12 in game 2 last year.
Dang.
Okay, so it wasn't that game. Then.
Game 1 was 10-16 in favor of Maroons.
Was it that game where there was a weird there was some. I remember there was one game where you were flipping because there's a weird pass that happened, and it was just a weird try, and it was well, that just seemed
weird. A bit off.
Yeah,
that didn't seem like that would happen with these all-stars of players making that kind of weird thing to a pass to nobody.
Yeah, I doubt it'd have been the second game just because that was an absolute
that was a high score. Yeah,
maybe the first game, Val Holmes' try in 53rd minute, but the game 3, that 22-12, I remember that game very vividly where it was 16-12, and then Blues are on the attack. Cleary goes to kick to himself. He does a little chip kick, and Ben Hunt just snags it out of the air and then runs 70 meters for a try.
I do remember you also leaving the Discord at that moment.
I was furious.
Let's just say Jabin and I were cheering, and Regal was out of that Discord call at that moment. all we heard was "boom."
At the time, I was livid that they did that. They had so many better options to do. But looking back on it now that I calmed down and that it's a year later, that moment is very, very cool.
Yeah,
to look at, Ben Hunt snagging that ball, and it's I don't. It might not seem as much to you guys, but a couple of years ago, I think it was 2015, huge grand final, Cowboys versus Broncos. Battle for Queensland, and obviously battle for the premiership. And Ben Hunt at the time was halfback for the Broncos. Very famously lost them the game. The Cowboys scored a try in the last second of the game to tie the game. If Jonathan Thurston kicked the conversion, they won. He missed it. Cowboys kick to the Broncos. Ben Hunt tries to grab the ball, drops it. At Suncorp Stadium.
Oh wow.
Or it might not have been at Suncorp Stadium, but no, at the time it must have been at ANZ. But anyway, regardless, for Brisbane fans, he literally lost them the premiership.
Right.
And then game 3 last year, he was the winning factor. He snagged that ball out of the air, ran 70 meters, scored the try in front of the Brisbane crowd at Suncorp Stadium. It was his redemption arc. So as much as I'm a New South Wales fan, that moment, as a Broncos fan, that moment is just beautiful. It is the best. It was possibly the best way, looking back, that we could have lost that game. Love to see a bit of redemption.
See, I have the Blues 2-1. I have the Maroons winning game 1 because I feel like it just kind of the way it's looking. It's just looking like it's set up almost in a weird way for Queensland to have the better team in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, yeah, they are gonna have Cleary still and all that because a lot of that stuff is actually not full injuries. I just see Queensland winning game 1, and then I see game 2, the Blues having players back who aren't injured, and 2 and 3 they'll have like full power structure.
Gotcha.
That's fair. I see Blues winning 2-1, but I hope Blues win tonight. I would love for Blues to win 2-0. Or 2-1, like they win the first 2 games and lose the third one.
Right.
But like obviously I'm going for the Blues tonight, so I want them to win. So I'm gonna say Blues 2-1 and they win tonight.
Gotcha.
Is it true that the first game is in Adelaide?
It is. It's at
That's
Adelaide
weird.
Oval.
Because usually last time I remember they did it Sydney first.
Mm-hmm.
No, was it Brisbane first?
No, they did Sydney first.
Yeah, it was Sydney, then Perth, then Brisbane.
Yep.
I remember that.
And now they've kind of swapped it. Now it's Adelaide first, which is like a no man's land, like Perth was, but for the second game. Brisbane second, and then Sydney gets the decider. Which I think it's silly.
Sydney's having a really fun time. They get the Origin finale in game 3, and they get the Grand Championship. Look at that.
Yeah. Yet they really want Magic Round as well.
They, like I said, if they ever do that, they have to swap. In my opinion, to me, like the Grand Championship has to be in Brisbane. Then, if they do that,
I agree.
So
I just think it makes so much more sense for game 1 and 2, 1 game in Brisbane, 1 game in Sydney, and then game 3 to be at a no man's land, be it Adelaide or Perth.
That way, especially because if it's a tie series like 1-1, then you're giving both teams no home field advantage. Yeah, it's like, all right, battle it out. Good luck.
Yep. I just think it makes sense, but that's the system that they do. It is what it is.
No.
So with round 13 being very, short, not many matches being played, I've got you guys 5-minute timer to go over the matches and to discuss the upcoming matches as well. Can you guys see the control room? Because that's where the timer is going to be for your own reference.
All right, well, the perfect thing about this is Regal can take this one away because I did not really watch much of this week's NRL.
Okay.
So
I actually also only watched 1 game, but let's do a quick recap, all right?
Sure. Quick recap. 5 minutes is on the clock, and let's go for it. Regal?
Dragons are terrible. Cowboys had half their team, and Parramatta had their full team. Warriors had a bunch of pitch invaders and didn't deserve to win anyway because New Zealand sucks. Rabbitohs were out half their players, and so the Bunnies won. And Sea Eagles were out Turbo and Cherry Evans, which is basically just a loss for them. And the Knights suck, but so did Manly. So, all right, that's round 13 recapped.
You said the Bunnies won, but Canberra won.
Yeah, sorry, Canberra.
Okay, so talk about the upcoming
Bunnies
matches.
Should have lost.
What's interesting in these upcoming matches? You still have 4 minutes, 19 seconds.
Honestly, this Tigers Raiders game should be a good game, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I think Tigers win it. Just because I feel like the Tigers are the one team that hasn't lost that many players to Origin.
I agree, although the Raiders have only lost Hudson Young. And Raiders are weirdly winning a lot of games. I think the Tigers can win this game, especially although
Tigers aren't the Tigers are on the winning streak still. I mean, it's gonna be, like I said, this game I think is gonna be one of those games that actually
they've won 3 of their last 4. They won the last game. They lost the game before that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that could be a good game if Tigers show up. I just want to see if Appy is named to start, so he's named to back up after Origin. Hopefully he does. If he does, that'll be a much more interesting game for sure. 50-50 for me. Tigers could win it. Raiders probably will.
Okay.
I hate to say this, but I think the Warriors over the Dolphins. That's my thing there. Just because the Dolphins have a couple of people in Origin where they lost the hammer, I think the Warriors win it because of that.
Yeah, Gilbert and Hammer are both not named, so they won't play. So yeah, Warriors probably win that.
Especially because it's also in New Zealand. Warriors don't really lose many games in New Zealand as it is. Yeah.
Mm.
Titans Bunnies. Apparently they have the Bunnies as the favorite here. I think that this could be another game the Bunnies lose.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, they're only at Latrell this time. They should have Cameron Murray back.
That's
They'll have
right.
Campbell
I forgot that. Yeah, because they did. I also noticed that they dropped Cheekham to the bench now after his mess up last week against the Raiders. Apparently, he knocked it on a couple of times, and yet he lost his job because of it.
They also they're starting Richard Kenner, which is the guy from last year that you really liked, Apex.
Oh,
Starting
is
him
that who
over,
he is?
yeah,
'Cause I seen that he was starting, and I was like, I've never heard of him before, but okay.
Yeah, that was that guy from last year, and they've got Colin Matangi back as well. He's in the starting
Love
side.
that.
Arrow on the bench, Shaq Mitchell on the bench, Cheekham. Yeah.
Oh, Shaq Mitchell's back too. Okay,
He was back last week as well.
fantastic.
Because Kieran Foran now, Jaden Campbell's playing 6, so they've got a rookie fullback. Yeah, I think Bunnies still win.
Okay.
I think both teams have a couple players out. Bunnies win that for sure.
We have
Yeah, Sharks Broncos.
minute 30.
Oh Jesus. Sharks Broncos
should be a very good game.
Should be a very good game. Because of Adam Reynolds still being on the Broncos, I think Broncos win it.
Very 50-50. Honestly, either.
I remember reading saying that some of the players from Origin might still play in this game because it's a couple days after. So
Yes.
if that does happen, Broncos win.
I think all of the players are named. Yeah, I think it's 50-50. I'll go Broncos as well.
I'm going Bulldogs over Roosters.
I'm also going Bulldogs over Roosters.
Just because
Roosters can win that. They've got Manu back at 6.
But it's just the Roosters are just
AWH back.
They just haven't been playing to my or anyone's expectations. Bulldogs.
Assuming everybody in the Bulldogs backs up, including like Addo Carr, yeah, Bulldogs could win that.
Storm, Cowboys, Storm. I have Storm.
Yeah, Cowboys just not very good this year, and then Panthers over Dragons.
Panthers, Dragons. Yeah, that's not even. Oh, well, that's it. That's not even a competition. That's not even like a real competition. That's just Panthers.
Panthers and Dragons, just Panthers. Okay, you guys finished with 27 seconds on the clock. Fantastic job, guys.
Give us an a time limit, an ultimatum there, and we'll make sure we get it done.
Yeah, you guys did really well there. Fantastic job.
That's not the first time Regal and I have been timed.
Yeah, well, fantastic. Let's see. What else do we have? Closing remarks for the NRL. What match are you most looking forward to in this slate of matches for the round 14?
I think that Sharks Broncos game is hard to pass up on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that could be.
I mean,
that could be a very good game.
Mostly for me, I'd say just Origin. Honestly,
true.
The rest of the games, again, it depends on if the players are actually going to come back and play after Origin, or if they're going to get rested. Because if a lot of them are rested, then this week could be a very dull week, which is usually what happens during Origin. I know Regal can agree with me on that one. When the players start getting rested because of Origin and stuff like that, and like all the backups are out, and the NRL becomes like this weird league of I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think based on last year, most players backed up. There were very I went through and had a look, and there were very few that didn't. Basically, only ones that played on either Thursday or Friday. 1 or 2 day turnaround. So I doubt there'll be very many players to pull out, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some for sure.
Because they've definitely done it before, where they're like, you know what, just rest.
Yeah.
Well, with the rugby league out of the way, thank you so much, Regal, for joining us. Always appreciate your insight and your intake. I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. I think I did that once before. I'm pretty sure I did that once before, and you corrected me the exact same way. So intake, input, same thing. Were you going to say something to Regal? I think you were. I'm not sure.
No, I was just going to say this is how you do a segue, by the way. Now let's drop shot into some esports.
Drop shot. Okay. Yeah, you're still pretty limited to Call of Duty, but you'll get there eventually.
Not true. There's a couple other games you can drop shot.
Fair. Anyway, Regal, thank you so much for joining us. Love you. See you next week, maybe. Maybe not.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Always a pleasure having Regal on the show. What are you interested for in the rugby for round 14? Let us know in the comments below, or just let us know some other way. Anyway, getting into the Esports Report. There was a very, very exciting weekend of Call of Duty that was played.
Not so much for you, though.
No. The greatest major we have seen in a long... I would say the greatest major we've seen since Major 2 of last year, when the Rocker 5-0 came back against FaZe. I would say this is the greatest greatest tournament since then. So let's get into it, shall we? My pick, for those of you who watched the predictions video, I had a very bold prediction. And I want to say that I was correct in the first round, the first matchup against the Florida Mutineers in Optic, Texas. I called Florida winning. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Anyway, I had the Breach winning it all. And unfortunately, they played 2 games and they got knocked out of the tournament. So, unfortunate for me. But at least I got the Florida pick right. And that's the one that I'm sticking with. But anyway, ultimately, we saw the New York Subliners come away with it over Atlanta FaZe. 4-3, went to our first game 7 of the year, and it went the distance too. So New York Subliners getting knocked down to the losers bracket in the very first game that they played against Toronto Ultra. The first team that we've seen all year to go through the entire losers bracket and win. We had the LA Thieves do it at Major 2. We had Optic do it at Major 3. But both of them fell short in the grand finals. This time around, though, Subliners, they said, we'll have our cake and eat it too, and we'll beat Atlanta FaZe 4-3. So, epic, plays out of the Subliners. And Hydra was a man on a mission. I mean, he was the greatest player in the venue the entire weekend. There was no question about it. He's the greatest player this entire major so far. And that brings us to, the question of who's going to be the MVP out of those 2 players on those 2 teams in the finals, Hydra or Abizi. The stats are very similar. Hydra, obviously, this year, 2 major wins, Major 1, Major 5. He has an MVP, which he just got in Major 5. He was the MVP of the major. They're in the 3rd seed currently. We'll get to that later. His overall KD for the year is a 1.17, which is phenomenal, obviously, especially lately in S&D. He averaged like a 1.8 this major of S&D KD. So absolutely insane. And then here's Abizi. He has a major win as well. They are the 1st seed in the league, and he had a 1.07 KD overall for the year, 1.23 in S&D. Yeah, I mean, he's Abizi, I mean, he does what he does. He's one of the best to ever do it, especially one of the best in the world right now. And for me, I mean, maybe it's recency bias, but I don't know. I mean, Hydra has been that guy all year long for the Subliners, and if I had a vote, which I guess I do technically because it's fan voting, but if I had a very important vote, if it was like the NBA MVP situation, I would go Hydra. Before this major, I would say Abizi 100%. But this major really showed what Hydra is capable of when he is on a mission, and he has just, he's going to go through you to get what he wants. Yeah, Highlander, who do you think is going to be the MVP between these 2?
Honestly, when exactly is this being announced? Is this after Champs or is this before Champs?
This is before Champs, so it's just a regular season MVP. So as of right now,
See,
these are the stats to go off of.
just because FaZe has had such a great season, like all along, I have to go Abizi.
Easy.
I mean, New York only really did good in the first major and then major 5.
You're not wrong.
The other ones they've kind of struggled where FaZe had a few close wins multiple times to where I feel like Abizi should get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Abizi is on, he is on.
Yes.
Whereas like Hydra is only on when the rest of his team around him is also on, it seems.
Kind of.
Like if it came down to like, I need one of these guys to win a 1v1 or, my foot gets ran over by a truck or whatever, I'm picking Abizi.
Right. I mean, funnily enough, with that said, the statistics for the Subliners in this grand final wasn't very good. As you can see here, 3 out of the 4 players negative for the Subliners, with a Hydra at a 1.23. And I mean, Kismet has a 0.97, so he's practically even. But Parisa had a 0.72, and Skies has a 0.81. So I mean, those guys, they had big moments for sure, and they definitely came through in like the search and destroys and some control clutches. But other than that, they were just kind of spawning up and dying. And I mean, probably relaying important information for a Hydra to just go and slay them. 130 kills to 106 deaths. It's just insane. But yeah, so I mean, funnily enough, the team who's outslayed did not win. And I mean, even Simp 0.99, he's probably an even KD, so that's everyone on FaZe going even or better, and they're still losing. And so that just, to me, it just shows how the Subliners have
different COD is it?
Yes, they've really just elevated their game in the past major. I mean, because like you said, they were fantastic in Major 1. They were looking to just completely take the league by storm all year long, and then they fell off. And I mean, Kismet had something to say about it in this major. He was saying how he felt chained and leashed in like search and destroy mainly, and so they just kind of trusted him more a little bit this major, it seems, and they took him off the leash a little bit. And Kismet being the bulldog, the bulldog got loose and he did some damage. So yeah, so I thought that was really interesting how FaZe has the better KD. And I mean, looking at these maps and modes, I mean, Atlanta wins the first hard point, so easily Atlanta actually wins both hard points. Yeah, they win both hard points. Oh, no, they don't. New York won this one. I am blind. Anyway, yeah, so they win this first hard point, and they win the first control, pretty easily. They win the second control as well, actually. So those are definitely the game modes that they were outslaying the Subliners pretty heavily in, because you can only get so many kills in Search and Destroy. And yeah, so I mean, it just, Search and Destroy wins championships. It's always been said. It's always been a thing, and the Subliners proved it. I mean, they, especially against Atlanta, who at one point in time this year,
the best S&D team this season.
They had like 18 map wins earlier in the season again for S&D.
I was gonna say, even with their hot start, I think even with them slowing down, I think they still were the best S&D team.
They're still one of the best S&D teams for sure. And you come in and you take every single search and destroy. And I mean, especially this one. This search and destroy in game
6-5 was huge.
Game 5. They were down 5-2, and they came back to win 6-5. I mean, kudos to Atlanta for coming back and winning the next control to force Game 7. But I mean, search and destroy. I mean, the last map especially, New York they were dominant. The first search and destroy, 6-2, they were dominant, and it wasn't close in those search and destroys. The only one that was close was this Game 5. And when you do that to FaZe, you're definitely shaking their mental a little bit, and yeah, you're getting under their skin. So take a look at the standings. So this is how the end of the year shapes up for these standings. This is the going into champs standings. So 1 through 8 move on to champs, and that is Atlanta FaZe at number 1. Optic Texas is number 2, which Optic Texas also went 2 and out this major. They played 2 games, they lost both, and they were sent home. Top 12. Very disappointing for them. they still cling on to that second place right behind the New York Subliners, or right in front of the New York Subliners, who had a massive 65-point boost for winning this tournament. Because with 65 points, they were down in like 6th place, 5th, 6th place. So yeah, Subliners at 3rd, Ultra at 4. So they had a pretty good run as well in their own major. LA Thieves also surprised some people with their terrible qualifier, showing 1-4. They came out, they won two games in the losers bracket, and then lost to Toronto. Minnesota Rocker ended up, keeping on their great, qualifier. They made it all the way to losers final, where they lost to the Subliners. Boston Breach, we just talked about them, even going 0-2 and getting out of the tournament, they still hang on to that 7th spot. And Seattle Surge squeaked through with the 8th place, going to champs. And they were immediately knocked out of the bracket too. So Legion,
and they're going to do the same thing in champs.
They probably will. Yeah, Legion, Mutineers, Gorillas, and Royal Ravens. We'll see you later. Your season is over.
Can we just say though, the London Royal Ravens had a LAN series victory.
Their first of the year. And it didn't come against a bad team. It came against the Boston Breach. They beat the Boston Breach. And, yes, Highlander and I were talking because it was Boston who played Rocker in the first match, and we were saying whoever loses is just going to steamroll London. And London had something to say about that. They said, we're not finishing the year 6-23 or 6-24. We're finishing at 7-24. Dang it. And so, a little stat padding for them. And, the two guys who probably come off that team are Asim and Nasty. The other two, probably not.
You know what's really scary about that is, yes, the Thieves 3-0'd them, but those games are close.
Yeah, it was a close 3-0. And London, they really put everything out there, and they just fell short to a hot Thieves team.
Asim was coming out, playing phenomenally. Where he'll be on a team next year. 100%.
Oh, he better be. His level of play, while it may not be up there with like the really greats, he's a very solid middle of the. When he turns it on, and he just takes over a game. But
I feel like with the right team, he could be up there with one of the.
Yeah, he's a very solid middle of the road guy who knows how to communicate, and he's been in the league for a while now. So he's one of your veteran guys. I would love to see him on a team full of youngsters, which kind of was the case. I could see him on Boston. I could see him joining Vegas, depending on how they make moves. Maybe they don't make moves.
Yeah, if Clay leaves, if Clay drops out, you might have Asim take his place in Vegas. Florida makes huge sense. Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah. I think Clay stays because he's in a 2-year contract with Legion. He just went there.
It depends on if he retires or not, honestly.
Temp might leave. That's possible. But as for the other two, Standy and TJ Haley. I'm pretty sure TJ signed with them, and obviously, Standy got picked up by them as well. So the only one who's really a question mark is Temp, which was their main AR. So interesting to see what Vegas will do. And Asim is definitely not a main AR. He's more of a flex. No, he's more of a submachine gun player, actually.
I'd rather see Asim go to Florida, to be honest.
Yeah, I would love to see him on Florida. They had a chance. Obviously they beat Boston. They beat Optic first round, and that was it was 3-0 smoke show. It was not close, and they made a good claim for them. For those players especially, a lot of those guys on Florida should find a team next year. Capsule should find a team next year for sure. He was lights out at the event. Even when they lost, he still had like a 1.23 in that game. Capsules, obviously last year for Boston, he was phenomenal as well last year for Boston. Had his ups and downs, but it was his rookie season, so it makes sense. This year, fully established in Florida, being one of their top guys, he really showed what he's worth this season. Yeah. But so moving onwards to the bracket for champs.
It's looking very scary.
It is. I thought I had this up. I did.
I mean, there's some crazy round one matchups.
There are. And so obviously with champs, there's only 8 teams in the tournament. So there's nobody starting in losers. It is truly a 2 and out tournament for all involved. And we've got some absolute bang out matches. We got FaZe versus Surge, not a bang out. We have Toronto versus Thieves.
That's going to be insane.
A rematch where Toronto sent Thieves home in Major 5. And there's been a lot, and I mean a lot, of banter between those two teams. Draza in particular on the LA Thieves. He has been talking all the trash and also crying about the hate that he's been getting after talking all the trash. So, whatever. But Toronto, I mean, they had signs up in the venue that said Toronto hates Draza. They've got some bad blood in Toronto for Draza. So that match is going to be insane. This is in Vegas, by the way. So unfortunately, Vegas can't be there at their own champs.
I have Thieves winning this one, to be honest.
I think they should. I don't know. Toronto was looking very good that last
Here's the thing. Thieves don't let the same thing happen twice.
True. Maybe not. But
so far this season, every time there's been a rematch after like a major whatever where that happened, Thieves has won after losing.
Yeah, I definitely think that whoever loses that, I'm not sure if they would play the Surge. That might be an easy bounce back, but if it's a close game, I can find out for you right now, to be honest. If it's a close game and they lose in a pretty heartbreaking fashion, it could be danger. It is, okay. It could be danger for either one of those teams, honestly. I mean, we thought London was a guarantee, and they were not. So if you lose in a pretty devastating fashion, if you're Ultra or Thieves, the Surge could bounce you. They could. I mean, they could easily get hot and just eliminate you from champs.
If you get in your head, yeah.
Yeah. So, next 2 matches, we got Optic Texas versus Boston Breach. That one is always a banger. But Boston is actually making a substitution before champs. Yes, they're bringing in Vivid again. Hey there, Editing JT here. Wanted to quickly insert a Boston Breach update. I was incorrect about bringing Vivid back into the lineup. Vivid was already there. In fact, he's getting dropped, actually, for up-and-coming Challengers player Snoopy. They are not bringing Nero back into the lineup, which a lot of people thought that they were going to. In fact, Boston seems to be cutting complete ties with Nero, as they have not done anything for him when he's been in the Challenger scene. And it's been a really bad time for Nero and not leaving a very good taste in Vivid's mouth either. So just wanted to clear that up before anyone hears that wrong news and gets mad at me. So Vivid out, Challenger player Snoopy in, and we'll see how it goes for them. Back to the episode. And then we have a Subliners versus Rocker, which,
again,
rematch of the losers final in round 1.
It's crazy to me that whoever loses this game could also be done. And they probably will be.
Yeah, because you're playing either Optic or you're playing Breach.
Or Boston. Yeah. And I mean, both of those two teams. And to be honest with you, I don't know if Optic starts off hot again.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Boston pulling out an upset on Optic there.
I mean, so we had a little bit of an announcement as well at Major 5 where Optic Karma has come in and he's now coaching the Optic team. So people want to point fingers at Karma for their terrible placing in Major 5, but he was only watching games. He had literally just gotten appointed as their head coach before the major started. He was only watching scrims. Yeah. He wasn't putting any input in there. They have 3 weeks to grind, and with Karma, especially in their control,
done that announcement.
Especially in their control, I think their control is going to get better because I mean, Karma obviously one of the greatest of all time, if not. He makes a case for greatest of all time. Coaching this team, he has a lot of knowledge and a lot of stuff to bring. I mean, he's kind of like Rambo, honestly. I mean, he's that veteran guy who has a lot of experience, and I'm honestly surprised it's taken this long for him to even step into a coaching role for Optics. So,
I'd say honestly, coaching wise, I'd say Karma's even better than Rambo.
Oh, for sure, I would 100% agree with that.
Then the Call of Duty knowledge that Karma has.
Yep.
Like, there's a reason why no matter what team he went to, he was winning championships.
Yep.
There's a reason for that. And it's not because he's just good with, the controller and all that. No, it's because he knew. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that this man knew how to learn spawns very quickly.
Yep.
I mean, every time a new COD came out, he was dominating that COD. Like
he was.
He's been playing it for years.
Yep.
So, to have that kind of knowledge with a bunch of young guns on that team.
Yeah. This time, I think Optic do come out and they come with a passion, and they have
to. Me, they need to.
They have to. They have no choice.
If they get 3-0 to start off this one, they're done.
They have no choice. I mean, I don't think they're going to come in and take anybody lightly. I mean, they can't. It's champs. It's the top 8 teams. But, I mean, I do think that they took Florida lightly, just like I said in our predictions video. And they got smoked. They got absolutely bodied. They didn't show up to play. They thought it'd be an easy victory, easy round 2, winners round 2 pass, and they got punished for that. So, very exciting stuff. We have some Rocket League news, which, I mean, we will do a champs predictions video as well. Just keep on the lookout for that, where we actually go pick by pick, and hopefully I don't go absolutely rogue this time and predict Breach winning the whole thing. Yeah, if that happens, someone pinch me.
Somehow he's gonna pick London to win it somehow.
They're gonna come
even in it. They're not even in it, but somehow he's gonna can I add my own team into this?
They're gonna come in. They're just gonna show up on the stage at grand finals. They're not supposed to be there.
For some reason, Minnesota Roker can't be there. No other team can, but London can be there. So they just come in to fill in last second.
They're just already there. Anyway, so we have the Rocket League news for the Eastern for the European Spring Cup. So all this is obviously happening before the Spring Major coming up in June. So that's pretty much on the next up for Rocket League, the actual Spring Major. But we have Vitality taking it 4-2 after a bracket reset, which you don't see in Call of Duty, which many people want back again. So Vitality ended up clutching up in that bracket reset and taking it 4-2 over Carmen Corp, which Carmen Corp was the last winner of the Winter Major, which I called. Anyway, Vitality looking pretty good. They're always kind of in the conversation for one of the greatest in the European region. And they also had the SAM region finish their Spring Cup, where we saw Ninjas in Pajamas win it over W7M Esports. Don't know who W7M is, but Ninjas in Pajamas, I love them just because their name is amazing.
I do like that name.
It's so good. It just reminds me of the old days of esports, where you could name yourself a ridiculous name and just be really good at the game, and it's just
I missed that.
Yeah, it's it's like the Monkey's Banana. It's like that's the team name. It's like what, and they're just winning everything. So so that's really all I have for Rocket League. Honestly, just little. We can watch this highlight real quick. Carmen Corp versus Vitality in the final there for the EU, and it's pretty nice goal. But anyway, Highlander, do you have anything for Overwatch? Anything?
I do actually.
He does.
So
let's go.
Yes, for the mid-season madness qualifications. Right now, this is the standings. How they look. Atlanta Reign and the Houston Outlaws have qualified for the mid-season madness.
Oh, Atlanta lost a map again.
From 3 to 10 here.
Mm-hmm.
From the cutoff, they will be competing in a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Which starts June 2nd. As you can see, here's the bracket for that.
Ooh, you are prepared, my friend.
Yes, I am. So yeah, I'm guessing what happens in this is that the winners of this probably make it into the mid-season madness. I don't really know. I feel like most people have to make it because I highly doubt they're just gonna have
2 teams. There's no way.
4 teams in the. So I'm guessing I'm guessing the winner of this makes it
for sure,
and then probably whoever makes it to these probably make it.
Maybe. Unless are they combining the East and West regions for this, do you think?
Oh, no, this is just the West.
It's just the West. Okay.
Because there's an East bracket that's already been going on.
Right.
So, oh yeah, that's true actually. So there's going to be East teams that's East Bracket A and East Bracket B.
Right. So there is more teams.
So yeah. So actually, you know what? There's probably going to be the winner of this one will probably make it, and the winner of like the losers will probably make it.
But you would think
in the qualifier.
Oh. Right.
That's my only guess. So,
but the winners, you think that the winners would be more? Because do they drop down? They must drop down. Okay.
Yeah, they have to drop down.
Right. So okay, that's weird how they have that bracket laid out. Anyway,
it is. Yeah.
You think that the top teams who make it to the grand final, which I guess I understand now. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say like there's an actual grand
final.
Right,
it doesn't say there's a grand final. I thought that match at the top was the grand final.
Like right here, for instance, this game is played June 3rd, and the loser bracket ones are June 4th.
Right.
The next day. So yeah. So this is after this is like whoever is the best team in the winners. You're in, you're done, and then the losers just have to compete to see who makes that second spot, I guess. And then because hold on.
Yeah.
So if you get 2 from this, I'm guessing you probably get 1 from this and 1 from this, plus the 2. That would be 2, 4, 6. 6 teams total into the midseason madness. I mean, I don't really. I'd love to tell you more about this, but as you can see, if you click this, it's just like, yeah. So if you want to know more, stay connected and sign up.
Right.
Gee, does it say? In the West region, qualifying weeks will determine seeding into the tournament. In the East region, qualifying weeks will determine seeding into the knockouts bracket. Oh. Wait. Oh, the contenders teams will also show up.
Oh.
In it.
Okay.
Okay, so people in the West are qualifying to get into the tournament, where like in the East region, they're qualifying to make this into the knockout bracket.
Yep.
So the West teams will be in the tournament, whereas the East are just in the knockout part.
Yes.
Interesting.
I understand.
Unfortunately, teams in the region will compete against contenders teams that have advanced to the spring stage open. The East region knockouts will determine the teams that will compete in the midseason global tournament in Seoul. Oh, okay. So the East ones that are going on right now. Yeah, okay. It kind of makes sense, I guess.
Gotcha.
I feel like my one complaint on Overwatch, which I think a lot of people will agree with me, they do a really bad job at explaining stuff.
They do. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of because the Overwatch League is owned by obviously the same company as the COD League,
But the COD League does things kind of like
because this is their 4th year doing it, so they I mean, do you remember how bad it was in Modern Warfare 2019 when the first franchise year happened and kicked off? That was horrible.
Yeah, but hasn't Overwatch been going on for a while too?
Yes, but their actual franchising hasn't, I don't think.
Well, the franchising was happening before COD.
Of the city teams?
Yeah, because COD copied the Overwatch idea.
Did it really?
Well,
I have no idea then. I could have swore that the Overwatch stuff came after.
No. This happened in Overwatch 1.
Oh, okay.
Like the original Overwatch had like teams like this.
Well, I guess just the population, of the fan base don't really care that much. So,
yeah. To me, as someone who's new to Overwatch, it's very confusing at times for me to be like, all right, so this is what's happening. Understandable.
Right.
Because like even like this, for instance, when it's like 2 teams qualified, and it's like this is the qualified cutoff, and it's like, what? Why is there only 2 teams that qualify? Right. It's like a weird number of like qualified in that situation. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Is that everything you got for OWL?
Yeah, that is everything for the OWL. Do you have anything for Halo?
I do.
Oh,
it's not much. We have
coming by surprise.
We have the DreamHack Global Invitational happening in Dallas, June 2nd to the 4th.
We're back to the MCU
we are.
Map thing here.
Yeah, we are. And if I zoom this in, it gets very pixely and it looks very bad. So
I don't believe you.
Okay, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. Oh, look at that. Oh, So pixely. Anyway, yeah.
Wait,
so DreamHack.
You know what's funny? It looks clear as can be on stream.
Okay, well, for me it looks. Oh, I have a 1440p monitor. That's why. Anyway, so yeah. So June 2nd through 4th, DreamHack Dallas is going on. So
Okay.
that's this.
Oh,
Friday.
same time as the East thing. So
And
perfect.
I also think it's similar timing to the spring major of RLCS.
Oh, so they're all going on at like the
think.
same. That's insane. So everything's going off like June 2nd.
Yeah, maybe. So tune in next week where our esports report will be jam-packed with news.
Hopefully, good
if we can
stuff.
find things. Yeah, if we can find things.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's. Well, I mean, I feel like Halo is the hardest one to find these days.
100%.
At least Overwatch, you can find stuff. Rocket League, you can find some things. COD, obviously. Yep. Halo, half the time we don't know what's happening.
At least I know where this roadmap is now. I could just pull it up easily and say, okay, we're still a month away from that. Cool, or whatever. So, yeah, that's really gonna do it for the esports report.
Without further ado, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for watching and listening to this wonderful episode of Off the Cuff. It's been a great show, and we hope you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy, feel free to like this if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, make sure to add us to your list by favoriting, following, subscribing, whatever it is you do to get notified. If you're here now on Twitch and you haven't followed, hit that follow button to see these wonderful faces every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to catch us live, like I said, every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv Off the Cuff Pod. Find our full edited episodes of every podcast that we do on YouTube at Off the Pod or Off the Cuff Pod. Actually, no, isn't it Off the Cuff Sports?
It's Off the Cuff Podcast. Well,
okay.
The URL is actually like at Off the Cuff Pod.
Okay.
So
okay, see.
Yep.
There we go. You can check out all of our audio sites that we're on over at anchor.fm/offthecuffcast.
It'll take you to podcasters via Spotify, but it's the same thing. It'll work.
Fantastic. Look at that. Check down below in the description box for our Twitter and Discord links, and come connect with us on those wonderful platforms.
Yes.
With all that said, nothing left to do but to close out the show. I'm Hylander. He's JT. And we'll see you next week.